So I've had requests to talk about the Wizard of Wines Winery and the Amber Temple, both of which I shall touch on. I have ran the Wizard of Wines, so that's something I'll be doing pretty soon. In terms of the Amber Temple, that's actually going to need me to research for once, because I only ran like a fifth of the dungeon, because my party literally just went around the edge of the first floor, just went straight down when they could, got the Sun Sword and left. They were out of there. They were out of there. So that was something that they did pretty quickly, and I don't think I'll be talking about that for a little bit. However, the Wizard of Wines Winery, I ran, and this was the first time I had ever killed just like one party member by itself. I've TPK'd twice now, I think. Maybe 3 times. I've TPK'd a lot. But yeah, the Wizard of Wines is a dangerous place. People don't think it is, but it's just as dangerous as a bone grinder, except a little more conditional. So to start off with, the quest to get there can be offered at any time. I would recommend offering it at level 5 and up. I did this at level 4 because my party were a bit stuck on what they could do, so I gave them a quest, which was the Wizard of Wines. And I thought, it's just a bunch of blights, they'll be fine. Everyone in that party, very single target heavy. All of them. The wizard would have had Fireball, but they were level 4. So they were the only person who would have really been able to properly like do the encounter. And it's important that the party have AoE going into this, because if they're single target and they don't have like a 20-con barbarian, like Hill Dwarf barbarian with tough feet, then they're fucked. Because even though they're a bunch of little blights, the numbers add up, and when they're hitting, they're dealing okay damage. And when you add all of that okay damage together, you kill people. And that's exactly what I did. Our Blood Hunter character went a bit too far in, got surrounded, and killed when they went there. Because of the wave system, they were acting pretty kosher and casual about the entire encounter until they started seeing more blights and druids come out of the winery to fuck with them. The druids themselves weren't massive problems, they would just occasionally throw fire, or entangle was the main thing that was fucking with them. Other than that, they were fine on the druid front. It was the blights that destroyed them. The barbarian almost went down as well, despite, you know, raging and killing just constantly. And the party had to run. So that's my first bit of advice. Wait till level 5, and when you think they can successfully take out the blights, at that point. The main way to like quantify that is, do they have fire AoE? Do they have Fireball? Do they have like Dragon's Breath? Do they have Burning Hands? Just as simple as that. That will definitely help them out a lot in the encounter, just in terms of their capability to handle the total of 61 blights, with some more powerful ones in there. This is also a nightmare for a DM to run. I actually had a problem player at the time that I didn't notice had used like 4 second level slots at level 4, and like a player messaged me in the middle of it like, hey, they're doing that, and I'm like, okay, I'll tell them after. So I never probably got to address that, and balance was thrown out of whack a little bit, and everything got a bit too chaotic. So the module does specify that the 30 needle blights outside are in 6 groups of 5. That's great positioning to just Burning Hands the lot of them, or do something similar to that, which is kind of, I think, how they want that to happen, just to give those AoE boys some opportunities. So yeah, I'd recommend just kind of keeping that in mind when you go into it. Space them out and keep them in like clustered groups, because then it also makes sense, because they're firing. Now they have to get pretty close to fire, which means that like people can get close to them to do what they need to do. So it's going to be a pretty close quarters fight, even though all the needle blights, they do ranged, because the ranged distance is that of a kind of better hand axe and less damage to my memory, or maybe more. But nevertheless, this is a very lethal encounter. Without either very high AC, rage, or AoE, they're fucked. It's really difficult to get through that. So I can't emphasize this enough. Very dangerous encounter. The reason I said that it's like old Bone Grinder but more situational is, if they don't have those rolls, they are going to be having a very tough time. The wizard was the main clutch one, having casted web on a bunch and like throwing out a few spells, etc, etc. Cleric, very single target mostly. We had a blood hunter a barbarian, and a gunslinger fighter artificer mix-up. And all of them are very single target heavy. So the least single target heavy person was the blood hunter there, because they built their like kit around hand crossbow and rapier combo, so they could get 2 attacks off a turn, and they normally split them up. But they were the one two in the front, and their AC wasn't helping them out because they only had so much. They had like 16, which is good, but not enough. And yeah, they were too single target heavy. I should have recommended that at a later level. I killed a party member and it created a very interesting roleplay angle, but it, in the end, felt like I could have done better there. In terms of the actual place itself, this is not built like a dungeon. This is just a house. And there's nothing to really fight within it other than like the locations of where all of the druids and their blights are within the building so that they can then spill out. And it's important to note that if they stay outside, they're getting assaulted. It does say that if they barricade themselves inside the winery, they don't get assaulted by more. Like, it's only the needle blights outside that attack them, which is good, because it would be even worse to have this encounter in close quarters. They would be surrounded, the druids could spam Thunderwave and stuff, and it would just give them no room to do anything other than just try and survive with, like, I don't know, dodges. There is, of course, the Gulthius staff that the druid in area W16, which is like the loading winch, and this dude is alone and he doesn't come out. And no one's gonna think to destroy the staff because the book doesn't make it obvious enough that that's what they have to do. I think that if they encounter this druid during the fight, they should cower away in a corner and just beg for them not to take it. Don't do anything to the staff. Like, just grab it and like hug it and protect it so that the party know that that staff is important, because the game doesn't do enough to tell you other than its description, which they clearly notice that it will be different than the other staffs that the regular druids have. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Overall, one of the things I dislike about this module is it doesn't make that many things entirely obvious other than, like, you know, the card reading. There's some things that you have to do that just don't feel like they link up properly. And this is one instance of them. My party didn't think to snap it even after finding it, because they honestly don't think you can do that. Like, a party's never tried to destroy a magic item in their life. They've either taken it or just left it. They don't think to try and destroy it, and some of them can be easily destroyed. You know, any sort of staff with enough force can just kind of be snapped, right? Especially the Gulthius staff, it's very weak. So just kind of keep that in mind. Some are more difficult, like metal rods and shit. In terms of the events afterwards, I think the adding Winter Splinter to the chaos is very fun. I never managed to do that because my party dealt with Winter Splinter before it managed to get there. But yeah, they pretty much did the thing, ran and went, nope, we're going back and doing it again, but more prepared. And then they did, and they killed them all, I think. And also the wine delivery is sick, because it basically, everywhere needs wine. Blue Water Inn, the Vistani camp, or the Burgomaster of Kretsk, they all need wine. And it's likely that if they've got there, someone's asked them to go and get it. So they're sorted now. They've got all the wine that they need. And I think that as a reward, they should be offered like unlimited wine or something. That'll make them happy. And they can escort it if they'd like. If they don't, it's fine. Apparently it still makes its way safely. I think that there should be a random element of chance that if they don't escort it, you roll random encounters as if the party were there, but instead it's just the NPCs guiding it. And if they roll an encounter that could damage the were-ravens, they die. And the wagon is just left there unless like something deliberately sabotaged it or something. So yeah, definitely consider that, because then it will make maybe the party feel bad about not escorting it, etc, etc, and they don't get what they needed. And that sucks when the party has a plan and then it doesn't go through, when it wasn't down to them, when it was a decision they made to just kind of leave it and then it didn't go well. They get very frustrated and like They get a little pissed. I imagine they wouldn't like go, fuck you, Jake, worst DM in the world. They'd just go, well, shit, we left him. In any case, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was somewhat useful to you. You can do a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to try and remember them all. Subscribe, bell, Discord description, comment, like. There we go. Do all them, and then I'll be happy boy. So yeah, I believe in myself. I can do this. I can do this. No, I can't do it.